Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation. It's Wednesday, hump day, don't be a chump and don't you ever crump day version of the WTF reports. Oh, yeah. What a day, what a week, what a month, what a year. Propaganda. You more, huh? All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm your host, Dave vonKleist, and I don't know where even to start. Those of you regular listeners know that I've been shaking the bushes for a long time, and, there's no joy in I told you so for either party. Yeah, a lot of us crazy conspiracy theorists have been screaming about this for years and years and decades. And, of course, we're just tinfoil hat. Yeah, don't pay attention to them. You hate your country. Yeah, you got real problems. Well, guess what? We are batting 1,000 these days. Told you so. Anyway, let's see. Where do we start today? Well, it is April 15th. Yeah, Income Tax Day. And I think it's only fitting that we just take a quick look at where we are as far as income tax is concerned. Well, it's not just, federal tax. It's state tax. It's, property tax. It's everything taxed. We fought a revolution 250 years ago. And the big deal was, you remember the Boston Tea Party? That was prompted by a tax, a 3% tax. So what are we taxed up? Where are we up to now? Well, it's about half of your labor every year. About half. Yeah, it's about a third of it goes to the federal income tax, but then you put on top of that your property tax, your gasoline tax, this tax and that tax. You're up to about 50%. And that's acceptable for most Americans, right? Well, I don't think so. I don't go along with that. And if you've got paper and pencil, I'm going to give you a couple things to write down. If you haven't checked out these links or leads, if you will, it would behoove you to do so. And like I said, this being Income Tax Day, there was a guy named Aaron Russo who produced a film called America, From Freedom to Fascism. I'll look it up, and you would do well to sit down and watch the entire documentary. It's about an hour long. And Aaron Russo, for those of you who don't know, he was a big-time Hollywood producer. He produced the movie, you might recall, Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Dan Aykroyd. And it was a comedy. It was out there about, it's got to be 30 years ago now. And he also produced the film The Rose with Bette Midler. He was also Bette Midler's personal manager. Well, anyway, back in 95, I think it was, he did a stand-up comedy presentation called Mad as Hell. You can look that up on YouTube. Put in Aaron Russo, Mad as Hell. And shortly after that, he started investigating the income tax. And he produced a film called America, From Freedom to Fascism. I suggest that you look that up, because he was in touch with a lot of people. As a matter of fact, same people that I was talking to way back when in, 99, 2000, something like that. And let me see, Joe Bannister, John Turner, Sherry Peel Jackson, let me see, Erwin Schiff, let me see who else. There's a bunch of other people. But anyway, I did a song about that. And the question is, are you liable for an income tax? Now, there's a guy named Peman Matahede, and he basically heads up the Freedom Law School. And he's been all over the media lately. He's been interviewed by some very high-profile people. He was on with Clayton Morris. He was on with Matt Getz. Marjorie Taylor Greene had him on her podcast. And he has been instructing people as to how to deal with the IRS. And the big question is, are you liable for an income tax? Does the law apply to you? Is there a law that requires you to even file an income tax return? And that return word is kind of interesting, because what are you returning? They didn't give you something. You don't have to return it. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I wanted to share with you a song that I wrote. This is about 25 years ago. And I would challenge folks out there to basically answer the question, where is the law? Now, the Freedom Law School had put up a a reward. It was a 3-part reward. It was $300,000, $100,000 for each of the following questions. Number 1, show me a law that requires an individual to file an income tax return. That was that reward number 1. Either a law, a mandate, or an edict. That's $100,000, shik-ching, another $100,000, shik-ching, and another $100,000, shik-ching. So that would be $300,000. Well, there were some IRS agents that heard this, and they said, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. John Turner and Joe Bannister were both gun-toting IRS agents. They were the guy that showed up at your door and basically under threat of firearms, you would have to comply with the IRS code. Well, the IRS code is very interesting because when you do some research, you find out what the definition of income is, and you can't go by the dictionary. You have to go by the IRS code. You also have to understand whether or not you are a U.S. citizen. Are you a U.S. citizen or are you a state citizen? And these things are really important because once you understand who you are and once you understand what income means, you all of a sudden discover that maybe the IRS code does not apply to you. And you don't have to volunteer into the system because the entire system is based upon voluntary compliance, which in itself is an oxymoron. Comply voluntarily? How does that make sense? But anyway, these are all questions that were raised. And like I said, if you haven't seen that film, today being tax day, this is the last day you can make your decision. Are you going to comply voluntarily? Are you going to basically sign up for to pay something that you're not liable for? Why in God's green earth would you voluntarily give money to the IRS when you're not required to do so and their rules and codes do not apply to you? Why would you do such a thing? Anyway, I memorialized it in the following song, and I thought it was apropos that I should play it today, being April 15th. Enjoy.
You stand there with your hand out, demanding that I pay the money that I work for. At least that's what you say. But what gives you that power? Who died and made you boss? I'm barely getting by today. I can't afford that loss. So if you don't show some legal obligation that I pay, put your hand back in your pocket, turn around and go away. There are folks who rot in prison because they didn't pay. And the troubles that their families have, well, they just won't go away. So many generations have had to live in fear. They dig and scrape and struggle to pay income tax each year. I've got a peaceful nature and I don't like to fight, but you're pushing us against the wall, 'cause you won't do what's right. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, I've got a peaceful nature and I don't like to fight, but you're pushing us against the wall, 'cause you won't do what's right. I pay tax on my gasoline and for my property, a tax on all the things I buy, and when I go out to eat, Sherry Jackson, Aaron Russo, Eddie Brown, and Larkin Rose, Irwin Ship, and Joseph Bannister showed we all pay through the nose. There are millions that have seen freedom to fascism this year. I suggest you turn around and get your butt right out of here. 2,000 pages in a book, the IRS's code. When you read it very carefully, you'll find that nothing's owed. I did a little research till I found income defined. Well, I ain't no corporation, so leave that argument behind. Yeah, you can stick your chest out, you can prance and you can strut, but you better do it someplace else before I kick your butt. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Show me the law. Well, you can stick your chest out, you can prance and you can strut, but you better do it someplace else before I kick your butt. The president, the Congress, and the Senate know the facts, but they won't lift a finger, no, they won't stop the income tax. They've got their corporate buddies making fortunes from a war. To them, deaths are statistics, and they're just keeping score. I don't like intimidation, and I refuse to live in fear. I suggest you quit your job and go and find a new career. You say it's voluntary, like when you stop at a red light, but that law is written in the books. It's there in black and white. If no law says that we must file an income tax return, let's get all those 1040s, light a match and watch them burn. Your income tax extortion plot won't work with me no more, so you may as well forget it. Turn around, but there's the door. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Show me the law. No, your income tax extortion plot won't work with me no more, so you may as well forget it. Turn around, but there's the door. The IRS, we now know, ain't no federal agency, so you ain't no federal agent. You've got no immunity. If you're wondering why your claim of jurisdiction we reject, it's because that anatomically your law is incorrect. You say you have authority and you say you've got the right, but that's a lie. You're just a money-hungry parasite. We had a revolution here so many years ago. When the people wanted to complain, they had nowhere to go. With no representation, people started to rebel. Then they fought a revolution till the greedy tyrant fell. If history repeats itself, I think we're almost there. And you're fighting on the wrong side, bud. You haven't got a prayer. Show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, show me the law. Show me the law. Yeah, if history repeats itself, I think we're almost there. And you're fighting on the wrong side, bud. You haven't got a prayer. Show me the law.
Yeah, show me the law. Where the heck is this law? And by the way, if you're enjoying this politically incorrect, in your face, you lying son of a gun government music, then do a search on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and type in my name, Dave vonKleist. You just put Dave, V-O-N, and it'll pop right up there. And all my music is out there for free. It's not about making money. Yeah, that's nice and everything, but that's why I rely on you people to support the broadcast. And you can also visit my website, DaveVonKleist.com, and you'll have access to not just a whole bunch of the music and the bumpers that I used to use on the Power Hour radio show all those years ago, and you'll also have access to the documentary films that we produced back in those days. So, anyway, I just thought it was apropos to share that song once again for you, because this is April 15th, and people have to make the decision on whether or not they want their hard-earned money, all those hours and hours and weeks of labor. Like I said, 50% approximately of your annual labor goes someplace else. Where is it going? Well, it's going to support things that I'm sure that you don't support. And so you've got your choices to make for today. Anyway, okay, on to other issues. Let me see, which way do we go? Oh, I saw a poll this morning. It was on OAN, and I believe it was Matt Getz. And it appears that American public support for Israel, for the first time, has gone south. Yeah, I believe it was 56% do not support Israel, 44% still do. And that's the first time in modern history that support for Israel by America has gone south. And well, it should. As a matter of fact, there are more and more people that are recognizing the genocide, the absolutely horrendous morals that the Israeli regime has displayed. And people are sick of it. As a matter of fact, Scott Ritter was basically saying and echoing what a lot of people all over the world are saying. We've had enough of this regime. You know, I mean, what was it? Turkey told Netanyahu, you immediately stop bombing Lebanon. Immediately, or we're going to bomb you. Now, Turkey is not a country that you want to mess with. They have a huge military. They're a huge country. And, they're not messing around. And more countries now are turning their back on Israel and Bibi Netanyahu and their whole plan for a greater Israel. That whole thing is it's falling apart. And the whole world is seeing it. And they've had enough of it. They've had enough of the genocide. That's what it is. And, you can say, oh, you're an anti-Semite. Yeah, right. Well, go sit in the corner, put a dunce cap on. But anyway, Scott Ritter is not pulling any punches. Here's what he had to say.
If I were the Iranians, I would actually take out Israeli desalinization plants now, right now. End Israel right now. Just end it. Just take it out, end it. Make Israel over. You know, Israel needs to cease to exist. It is literally the cancer on the planet.
Yes, it is. It really is. They've shown themselves to be. As a matter of fact, there are videos coming out of just a deluge, an exodus from Tehran and from Rafah. People are in the streets trying to get the heck out of Israel because they know what's going to come. All right. Now, we also know that there's something called the Samson option. For those of you who don't know what that is, basically, we all know now that Israel, yes, they have nuclear bombs. And, Bibi Netanyahu has been screaming now for 40 years, 4 decades. You know, Iran is only months away from making a nuclear bomb. Iran is only weeks away from a nuclear bomb. Iran, nuclear, bomb. And now, going on for, like I said, decades. This has been his dream, a blank dream, for a long, long, long time. Now, you can't blame Iran for wanting to get ready to face some sort of attack. After 40 years of saber rattling and threats from Israel, they've been preparing for war. And, of course, the United States of Israel, the United States of Israel is being led around by Bibi Netanyahu through those 3 magic words. Remember those 3 magic words?
Bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, those are the tools that are used to manipulate and control our elected officials. As a matter of fact, I had a statistic here pulled up here. I don't know what I did with it, but it's about 3/4 of our Congress is under the direct influence, if not complete control, of Israel through many of the lobbying. Of course, AIPAC is one of the big lobby groups, but there are many others out there. And, of course, AIPAC is openly got commercials out there explaining how they basically are using their influence to control our elected officials, both in the Congress and the Senate. They're making no bones about it. They're out in the open about it. Now, the point is that when do we say not no, but hell no? When does it stop? And when do we start to see how we have been all manipulated through, the mainstream media? We all know who's controlling the mainstream media. That's no big secret. And it's not anti-Semitic to say, yes, there's an enormous percentage of people who sport the blue star that are in the positions of the movers, the shakers, and the policymakers. And no, it's not anti-Semitic to point that out. It's not anti-Semitic to point out that the blue star is represented in big pharma, in big agri, in communications, in Hollywood, in porn, all over the place. And, you can choose not to see it. And when you do see it, you can reject it if you want. But that's not going to change it. It is what it is. And we are all being manipulated and divided. And I've said this many, many times. The powers that be want to see a revolution in this country. They want to see us going right against the left, conservative versus liberal, Republican versus Democrat. They want to see that horizontal, civil war. But we don't need a horizontal conflict. We all need to come together. And I don't care, what color of your skin is. I don't care your ethnic background. I don't care what your religion is. The bottom line here is that we are all being pitted against each other. As a matter of fact, there's a guy named Mohammed Sapa who made the following statement. He said, and I quote, "Our world is not divided by race, color, gender, or religion. Our world is divided into wise people and fools. And fools divide themselves by race, color, gender, or religion." And I just remind you, I don't care what your background is, we all bleed the same red blood. We all want food, shelter, clothing, and love. And as far as I'm concerned, love should be at the top of the list. And the powers that be know this. They want to do everything that they can to create the division. And I saw another a big news story. Again, this was I was scanning around. I think this was on it may have been News Nation. I don't know. I scan around on all the different alternative news networks out there. I don't bother with CBS, NBC, ABC. I just want to see what their spin is, what their propaganda is. But it was really interesting because they were discussing Sharia law. This the epic city that's in Texas, outside of Dallas, Fort Worth, I think it is. Somewhere up there. Maybe it's north of Houston. I forget where it is. But the point is that there's a whole city, epic city, that's being constructed exclusively for Muslims who want to implement Sharia law. Now, a lot of people here are saying, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Sharia law shouldn't trump the Constitution, and I would agree. But, we have all these different, the Israelis want to implement Noahide laws. All right, so wait a second. Muslims got their Sharia law. Israelis or Jews have their Noahide laws. Here in America, we've got constitutional law, and then there's God's law, all these different laws. Now, how in this country of diversity, how do we deal with this? Well, I think we have to decide on one of them, and it's up to us to decide which one. So I just wanted to draw this to our attention because this is a debate that's going to be going on for quite some time, and the powers that be in the media want us all fighting against each other when the bottom line here is, again, we don't need a horizontal conflict. We need a vertical conflict. We need to go from the bottom to the top. And I remind you, in the Constitution, let me see, I had the page open here. Okay, I closed the book. I forgot where it was. Okay, the bottom line here is that, you'll remember what it says. It is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. We all know where that came from. And it is our duty to do so. Unfortunately, we don't have an informed and educated public because they've been brainwashed into prioritizing their pro sports and their movies and their video games and everything else except for paying attention to what's going on. And as long as it's that way, it's going to continue that way. Anyway, my gosh, the time is going by so quick. I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And you can get More Tank by by visiting our website, TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page. It'll take you down to an area where you can click on Get More Tank and find out all the information, the specifications, and details about this fuel catalyst and why it works so well with your vehicle, whether it be gasoline or diesel. And you will find that after you start using Get More Tank, number one, you'll have more power. When you hit the accelerator, your vehicle takes off. Number two, your engine runs cleaner, which is good for the environment. And number three, and this is a biggie, after a few tanks, you'll start to see an improvement in your mileage. And depending upon your make, model, and year of vehicle and your driving habits, you'll enjoy anywhere between 15 and 20% increased mileage, which means $20 with the promo code. That's what it costs for 5 tablets. And if you're getting 20% better mileage, that means the 5th tank is free. Do the math. Spend $20, save an entire tank of gas. It's a no-brainer, folks. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. All right, 32 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And as always, the phone lines are open. Yeah, I still have a bunch of stuff that I want to get to, and I shall play some more clips here. But the number here is 215-867-8255. If you want to belly up to the telephone bar, you're perfectly welcome to do so. Okay, here's something, a little contribution by Max Egan. He's from Australia. Listen to what he has to say. This is interesting.
You notice how all the Iranians are calling this a war against the Epstein class?
Yep.
See, this is what they're fighting against. The timely release of the Epstein files. We all found out that our politicians torture, rape, and cannibalize children. Where's the uprising? Where's the revolution? How many people in the Western world are addressing this? Even people like Candace Owens, doing a great job of exposing Charlie Kirk being an inside job. Yeah, we know that. We're over that. Move on. Tucker Carlson, doing a great job of exposing Israel as being the one who's destroying America. What about the whole fact that they're all pedophiles? They all torture, rape, and eat children. Mm-hmm. Why is the United States government still there now that the Epstein files have been made public? Now people know what they get up to. Oh, it's a terrible scandal. No, it's not a scandal. It's a crime. There is an international network of child rapists, torturers, cannibals who is running the world, running the Western world. Any government who isn't speaking about this, any media personality who isn't speaking about this, is part of the problem. The Iranians can see this and they go, oh my God, these people really are ruled by Baal. And so, okay, if you are going to bomb our energy infrastructure within Iran and put 93 million people in hardship, then all you people of the world who are allowing your criminal governments to bomb Gaza, genocide Gaza, to now genocide Lebanon, all funded by Western governments, as much as you want to blame Israel, Israel gets all its bombs from the United States, gets all its support from England, gets all its logistics from Pine Gap and stuff in Australia. Everybody's involved. Okay, so if all of you Western governments are going to allow this to happen and you're going to support this, you're going to support them knocking out our energy supply, then we're going to knock out your energy supply. And that goes for the entire world. And we feel justified in doing so because none of you people are standing up about any of this. You just found out your government torture, rape, and eat children. What are you doing about it? You're joining the military and going fighting their wars and going and bombing Iran, a country that hasn't attacked anyone in 280 years. And that just shows the mentality of the West. It really does. So you can see the Iranian perspective. What they may not understand is that by taking down the world's energy supply, they're actually playing directly into the hands of the Zionists anyway.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I mean, I have to say, you know, as much as the Iranian regime is repugnant to the rest of the Western world, they are not out there raping, torturing, and cannibalizing children. And I'm sorry, we have to get our priorities straight. And, I don't understand why the American public isn't outraged. I mean, we're finding out all of this sexual deviation and abuse going on. I mean, look what's going on. The big story, of course, is Eric Swalwell, who I believe is basically just being thrown under the bus to give the impression, the mistaken impression that something's being done to stop the sexual misconduct of our elected officials. We have to understand that this is standard operating procedure. You don't get to climb the ladder of success unless you're willing to compromise your principles. And it doesn't make any difference if it's in the private sector or the public sector. When you're climbing that ladder of success, eventually you're going to come up to one of those rungs that will require you to compromise your morals and principles. And unless you're willing to do so, you will not excel. You will not get any higher on that ladder. And this is exactly why we have nothing. Well, what do they say? What is it that floats? You can use your imagination. It rises to the top. And that's why we are in the situation that we are. Now, those of us who do have morals and scruples and principles, it's up to us to stand up and do something about it instead of sitting on our hands and busying our minds with trivial, unimportant BS. But anyway, that's where we are these days. And it's funny because there are other people out there that have been screaming from the rooftops and have been basically sounding the alarm bells for many years. As a matter of fact, former CIA operative Robert David Steele, rest in peace, he passed a couple years ago, but he left behind quite a legacy. Here's one of his statements.
Jeffrey Epstein has every major U.S. politician on video doing something terrible, probably to a child or to multiple people. So the deep state is about bankers, including religions, the Vatican particularly, but also the Jewish religion as manipulated by the Zionists in Israel. And then you have the complicit media, complicit academics, and then you have the secret intelligence services that are using their powers to spy on politicians and blackmail the politicians on behalf of the deep state. That's why electoral reform is so important. You do not back jackals into a corner, especially billionaire jackals. What you have to do is offer them an exit strategy. Get out of our way, let us create peace and prosperity for everybody, and we will not come after you for vengeance. Now, if they don't agree, then they're going to start to die. The Chinese are already starting to kidnap Chinese billionaires and bringing them to justice. The Rothschilds are next if they don't understand that the time has come. Now, Lady Lynn Rothschild ran a conference on inclusive capitalism. In her audience was everybody from Prince Charles, who has been associated with pedophiles, and Bill Clinton, who has been on Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Express, which is the pedophile island run in Caribbean, and Hillary Clinton. Lolita Island has something for everybody, and it's wired for video and audio. The bottom line here is the United States government has become so corrupt that the time has come, I think, to clean the crap out of the stables and start over.
Mm-hmm.
Jeffrey Epstein has every major U.S. politician on video.
Stop. There we go. Okay, I don't disagree with him at all. And we have to bring these people to justice. We have to see some accountability. And yes, when one of these people is perp walked and is sporting, handcuffs and ankle bracelets and being marched off, I'm sorry. It's more than just doing time in prison. Let the punishment fit the crime. And as far as I'm concerned, as the Bible says, better that have a millstone tied around your neck and be cast into the sea than to hurt one of the little ones. So yeah, why, if there's someone who's convicted of these heinous crimes, why do we put them into prison and charge the taxpayer anywhere between $100,000 and $120,000 a year, keeping them alive? I'm sorry that, I grew up in the peace and love generation, and I didn't believe that anybody should be killed for anything. But now I've had to, change my mind. I think capital punishment needs to be, it's always been there, but it's just not being utilized. Well, I think it's time to start utilizing that. And not only that, but when these people are convicted, I believe all their assets should be seized and returned to the people. And this is not just about pedophilia and sex trafficking and, satanic rituals and human sacrifice. Oh, yeah, that would go without saying. But I mean, we've also got all those people who were involved in the propaganda promoting the hokey pokey thingy dingy. And if you don't know what the side effects are, if you haven't been paying attention, hey, tune into yesterday's show. I had a whole bunch of stuff on there. Yes, this is planned global genocide. And that's what we're dealing with. And the meanwhile, people are saying, oh, well, this is the Epstein war. This is the Epstein class. Well, you know what? I think that they're right. This is about the Epstein. But they, like I've said many times before, when there's a huge, huge scandal or controversy or something like that the powers that be don't want the public focusing on, they have to create an even bigger distraction. So now we have to say, wait a second, well, then why is it all of a sudden we had to go to war with Iran? Why was that? Why now? What was it now? Well, that's because Bibi Netanyahu realizes the window of opportunity for him to continue his Greater Israel project is very quickly slamming closed. The world is now seeing it. So this is their last attempt to, as Bibi Netanyahu says, we have to stop Iran. They're going to have a nuclear bomb. Well, they didn't have one. I mean, last year, supposedly, we had that big, what was it, the 12-day war? We went in there and bombed the snake snot out of them, took out their nuclear facilities, and yet we were still told they have a nuclear bomb. So this is all because of Bibi Netanyahu. He sees the writing on the wall. His whole regime sees the writing on the wall. The whole world is turning against Israel right now. Here's Jeffrey Sachs on the topic.
Israel is the most violent country per capita in the whole world because it doesn't declare any borders. Ask Netanyahu. There'll never be a Palestinian land, believe me, period. The borders will expand when we want, where we want. Of course, between the Nile and the Euphrates to fulfill Greater Israel's hegemonic aspirations. And anyone that objects, we're going to take out. So Israel has either overtly or covertly through Mossad engaged in wars that stretch from Libya, Sudan, Somalia, Palestine, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, and now Iran. And Netanyahu also wrote a few days ago that the war on Iran fulfills my 40-year dream.
Okay, what kind of a dream? Fill in the blank. There's a blank dream.
This is very important for people to understand because the claim was, well, Iran didn't negotiate right last week, or it's about this, or it's about that. No, this is a 40-year dream of Netanyahu. It is. Now Israel has invaded Lebanon. It's displacing these hours hundreds of thousands of people. It's telling people in Beirut, you must leave in the next 3 hours. This is a crazy country. I'm sorry. They think that it's as if they have a deed inscribed somewhere in heaven that they own all this land, that we stop at nothing to ensure global hegemony and Israeli regional hegemony, that you develop and you say, therefore, I go to war with my neighbors. It's the madness that gets us into World War III.
Yes, it is. And it is madness. And it's not like certain people weren't warning us about that. As a matter of fact, Charlie Kirk, bless his heart, he was trying to warn us. And I have to say, I have nothing but contempt and disdain for the television news networks. OAN is one of them. And, of course, they're still promoting these commercials, oh, there's this starving elderly survival of the Holocaust. Send them money. The Jews need money. Yeah, okay, break out the string quartet. No, I'm sorry. We don't need to be supporting this mad regime. I mean, every country on the planet has condemned the United States and Israel for being involved in the genocide of Palestine. And now they're pushing into Lebanon. And yes, trying to destroy Iran. Now, I am no friend of the Ayatollah and, their particular regime. But the bottom line here, it's not our business. It's not up to the United States to be the global policeman. We and Israel have no moral ground to stand on whatsoever. Not as long as we allow pedophiles to rule in our Congress and in our Senate. And yes, in the office of the presidency. Charlie tried to warn us. Yep, and maybe this is why he was assassinated. course, he was also turning on Israel, and that's enough reason for the Israelis to figure out some sort of a way to take him out. And if you're not paying attention to Candace Owens and all the other independent researchers, you need to do so. Because TPUSA has been commandeered. It's been taken over, just like the United States government. Here's Charlie Kirk.
I don't think we should bomb Iranian nuclear facilities. I just don't. I think it would be a huge mistake. It's an act of war against a major country. You go to war with Persia, it will bring your country down. The American people did not rise up in major numbers because we want war with Iran. That was never part of the deal. Okay, it was never like, hey, America first, comma, we're going to go do a bunch of, targeted strikes on the inland of Iran. So that's just where I would say that would be a catastrophic mistake. I'm resolutely America first. I think that our own borders matter a lot more than the borders of a foreign country. And I think it's a long past time that our leaders would start to prioritize the well-being of our own citizens, not those of foreign nations. Not that crazy of a concept, right? We have so many pressing problems at home, and our leaders are internationally obsessed, and they are domestically ignorant.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Charlie. Bless your heart. Rest your soul. Rest in peace. Well, in a related issue, I guess it was last night, there was a rally, a TPUSA rally that was in Georgia, and there were more people that showed up outside to protest than there were inside. I saw a video that somebody took inside it, and there was about a quarter of the arena was filled. Now, if Charlie were still alive and he was still out there doing what he was doing, that arena would have been filled. But now, people are abandoning TPUSA because it, too, has been commandeered. And now people are taking a real hard look at Erica Kirk and her sordid past and all the connections that she's got. And like I said, Charlie, in the year before he was assassinated, he had basically turned. He was no longer supporting Israel. He saw what was going on. He'd figured it out. And he was one of those people who had enough humility and self-respect to be able to say, you know what? I was wrong about this. I was bamboozled. Mark Twain said many, many times, it's always easier to fool people than to have them admit that they've been fooled. And unfortunately, that's very, very true. There's still a lot of people out there who would rather die than to admit that they were wrong about something. And that's really sad. But, getting back onto this thing about Israel, more and more people are absolutely furious, livid, disgusted at what Israel's been doing. And here's Anna Kasparian basically, hey, tell us what you really think, sweetheart. I gotta give her kudos. Here's Anna Kasparian.
A scathing report by Euro-Mediterranean Human Rights Monitor finds evidence of sexual torture of Palestinian detainees, and they find that it's organized state policy endorsed by the highest political, military, and judicial authorities.
Okay, I'm going to pause it. Well, you have to keep in mind that Israel is the most moral army in the world. It's 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 the most moral army in the world. Yeah, that's what we're being told over and over and over again. Well, let's Anna, why don't you tell us about their morals?
In Israel. Here's a headline about it. Middle East Eye reported on the report saying, I wished for death. Sexual violence in Israel's prisons is an organized state policy. I want to give you a few of the highlights in the report. So it relies on testimony from former detainees, Palestinian detainees. One former detainee, a 42-year-old woman from North Gaza who was held in the notorious Sid Timan Detention Center, said she was bound naked to a metal table and repeatedly raped by two masked soldiers over the course of 2 days. She recalled that she was left shackled, naked, and bleeding throughout the night before the soldiers returned the next day to continue raping her. She said the entire ordeal was recorded, filmed. Amir, a 35-year-old Palestinian man who was also held at the same facility, recounted how soldiers forced him to strip naked before their dogs urinated on him and raped him. He described how the dog penetrated my anus in a trained manner while I was being beaten. And he says that this continued for several minutes. I felt profoundly humiliated and violated. And guess what? Other men described very similar instances of rape and sexual abuse carried out with the use of canines. Khalid, an attorney with the Commission of Detainees and Ex-Detainees Affairs, described how a soldier at the same facility inserted a fire extinguisher nozzle into a Palestinian prisoner's anus and then discharged its contents into his body, resulting in severe internal injuries and intense pain.
My God.
I don't know, Cenk, should I continue with the fair and balanced reporting? Because we haven't been getting balanced reporting in the United States as it pertains to the war crimes, atrocities, and genocide carried out by the Israelis. So war crimes are ugly. This behavior by the Israelis, real ugly, real ugly. And it's about time that someone actually point a mirror to them so they can get a good hard look at what they look like.
Yeah, and again, they're the most moral army in the world. Let that sink in. That's what a lie told often enough becomes the truth. Wow. Anyway, one more thing I wanted to get to. Let's see, where is it? Where is it? Is this it? No, that's not it. Yesterday, I was focusing in on the hokey pokey thingy dingy, and we all know where that's going. All the information now is starting to come out that yes, this is a continuing plan of genocide. Let that sink in. This is a continuing plan of genocide. Yes, the mRNA alters your DNA. And by the way, once your DNA is altered, you become a GMO, a genetically modified organism, which means you are owned by the pharmaceutical company. That's right. Well, that's what the legal thing is. I don't believe that anyway, but it doesn't make any difference what I believe. It doesn't make any difference what you believe. It's what they believe and codify into law. So the bottom line here is they want everybody on the planet to have this injection. And Ursula von der Leyen, oh yes, there's a big investigation into her. Of course, she heads up the EU, the European Union, the European Commission. And she received buco bucks from the pharmaceutical companies to do what she's doing. And what's she doing? Hey, Ursula, what are you doing?
1/3 of the European population is not vaccinated. These are 150 million people.
Okay, 1/3 is not vaccinated. Oh, gosh, that sounds like a problem for her.
This is a lot. And not each and everyone can be vaccinated, so there are very small children, for example, or people with special medical conditions, but the vast majority could. And therefore, I think it is understandable and appropriate to lead this discussion now, how we can encourage and potentially think about mandatory vaccination within the European Union. This needs discussion. This needs a common approach. But it is a discussion that I think has to be led.
Yeah. Why? Why does it have to be? You tell me. You guys are monsters. Absolute monsters. Anyway, let's see. Oh, gosh, look at the time. Only got about 5 minutes left. I know that there was somebody out there that wanted to call in. 215-867-8255 is the phone number. If you wanted to belly up to the telephone bar, now is the time to do it. As a matter of fact, I have one more thing that I want to play for you. Now, everybody's looking at Donald Trump and saying, "Oh my gosh, you know, he's gone off the rails. He's gone absolutely bat crap crazy." Maybe that's not the same Donald Trump that we had in his first term, and that's had me scratching my head too. Has he been bribed or coerced, threatened? Has he been blackmailed, or has he been replaced with a central casting, or maybe a clone? I don't know. But there's another side to that coin, and I think it's only fair that I would share this, because there are some people saying, look, he's either bat crap crazy or he's a flaming genius. But anyway, here's something to think about.
Not an idiot. What if losing the war in Iran is exactly the plan? Let me show you something the media will never tell you. So everyone is saying Trump is destroying America. He is fighting an unwinnable war in Iran. He is threatening to invade with ground troops. He is pissing off NATO by threatening Greenland. He is picking fights with Canada, Mexico, Denmark, Colombia. JP Morgan says the world will run out of oil by mid-April. The global economy is about to collapse. Trump looks like the worst president in history, a complete Buffoon, right? But what if that's the whole point? What if Trump wants to lose the war in Iran? What if he wants the American empire to collapse? What if he wants to destroy the global economy? Then he would be a genius. Let me explain. Right now the world gets 20% of its oil from the Middle East. Japan gets around 75% from the Middle East. India gets around 60%. China gets around 50%. Europe is also heavily dependent. But here's the thing, oil is not rare. Venezuela has the world's largest oil reserves. Canada has massive reserves. United States has massive reserves. Trump just took over Venezuela in January. He's threatening to take over Canada. You see where this is going. If Trump closes the Strait of Hormuz by fighting Iran, the Middle East oil stops flowing. But North America is still pumping. Suddenly Europe, China, Japan, South Korea, they all would need American oil. And not just oil, fertilizer too. The nitrogen for food production also comes from the Middle East. If that's cut off, where do they turn? There are only two options, North America and Russia. Trump is making the entire world dependent on the resources he controls. Now here is the genius part. Who owns the most US debt? Who's financing America's $39 trillion? It's Japan, China, Taiwan, South Korea, UK, France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. The same countries that need Middle East oil. There's been this fear that these countries would stop buying US Treasury bonds, that they would move to gold or Swiss francs, that America's Ponzi scheme would collapse. But now they need American energy. They need American resources. They can't abandon the dollar. They are trapped. Trump just turned America's biggest weakness, its debt, into its greatest weapon. By starting an unwinnable war in Iran, he's forcing the entire world to depend on North America. This isn't new. Putin already proved that this strategy works in Ukraine. Russia has been fighting for 5 years. It's a slow grind, but it has restructured Russia's entire economy around war production, drones, ammunitions, and military manufacturing. Russia went from importing Iranian drones to making their own and now exporting them to Iran. Putin's plan was that the world is collapsing anyway, so why not build a fortress, make Russia self-sufficient, control the resources, and weather the storm? America saw this and said, we can do the same. Greenland for rare earth minerals, Canada for oil and resources, Venezuela for oil reserves, Mexico for manufacturing, Panama Canal for trade control. So maybe Trump is not being reckless. He is actually building a self-sufficient North American fortress while the rest of the world burns. So yes, Trump looks like an idiot. Yes, he's losing the war in Iran. Yes, he's destroying the global economy. But if the goal was to end the American empire and rebuild it for Americans, to make the world dependent on US resources while everyone else collapses, then Trump might go down as the greatest American president in history. Maybe the New World Order is dead, and maybe we are heading towards a Trump world order.
Wow, that's interesting. It's an interesting take on that. I mean, stop and think about that. The whole petrochemical empire, you know, that was basically headed up by the Rockefellers. And then, of course, the banking system with the Rothschilds. We all know who's been behind all of this. All you got to just, you know, as they say, follow the money. It all leads back to Blue State. And we look at what's happening now with Blue State. It's being taken down. And if this is true, if what you just heard is true, and Trump is basically setting up an entire system here where the whole world is going to have to basically work with the United States for energy, well, then this may not be an act of madness. I don't know. We're just going to have to see how this plays out. You know, I don't have all the answers, and I have my assumptions, but sometimes I'm wrong, and sometimes you're wrong too. It's okay to change your mind. All right, boy, the time goes by so quickly when you're having a good time. And by the way, if you're enjoying the broadcast, help support us. Maybe you want to consider checking into the Wave Watch. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and the pop-up will take you to an area where you can learn all about the Rife technology, the Rife machine you wear on your wrist. Anyway, that said, yeah, it's time to say goodbye for the day. So if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or Facebook or YouTube, don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, and above all else, share it word of mouth. Word of mouth is the best advertising. All right, that said, I'm going to wrap it up. We're out of here. And until tomorrow, God bless you all. Stay safe, stay free, and God willing, I'll be back again tomorrow. I'll see you then.